Your profile is red flagged as a high-priority target in the city's surveillance system. Even a partial recognition hit would have you hunted down and shot on sight.
These days, DedSec's about as well loved as a French football team.
While I've been playing Watch Dogs Legion on the Xbox One X, it constantly reminds me of Borderlands 3. As weird as that sounds. And what I mean is if you've played Watch Dogs 1 or 2, you've basically played Watch Dogs Legion. If you enjoyed the others, you'll like this one. And if you didn't, well, there's a very good chance that you won't. Now, I know I'm in a small group of people that really like the first Watch Dogs. And honestly, I really enjoyed Watch Dogs 2, and I was fairly torn during my Watch Dogs 2 playthrough on how I felt. Currently, I'm about 5 hours into Watch Dogs Legion, and it's been an okay journey. And for the remainder of this review, I'm just going to refer to it as Legion, just so I don't have to keep saying Watch Dogs Legion every time. The story starts off with you as a member of DedSec trying to disarm a series of bombs, specifically ones that are armed at Parliament. A group later to be found out called Zero Day rigged explosives all across the city and puts the blame on DedSec for doing all this. Zero Day's idea here is to start the world anew and kind of wipe out a good chunk of population and to say, hey, time to start over. Months later, DedSec starts to rally and rebuild, aiming to clear their name and in the process discovering on how deep down the rabbit hole this corruption goes. The main thing that Legion does so differently than the previous Watch Dogs is there's not a true main character. Legion gets its name from the ability to essentially recruit anyone to DedSec. Each character has a short little bio and a set of specific skills and items that they come with. Bringing a lawyer onto the team allows you to decrease jail time, that if you happen to get knocked out or arrested or something like that, they help release you, essentially. If you bring on a paramedic, they can help wounded individuals heal faster. And you can actually hire construction workers that can summon big heavy lifting robots that you can ride on and pick up big heavy items. The ability to swap out to a character that better fits a job is awesome. It helps keep it fresh and not just focus on one character. So you can, assess a mission and go, I need to switch out to somebody different, grab them, and it's almost an instant switch. Missions tend to focus on sneaking into your location, downloading data, and getting out. You're technically not there to make a scene. Now, you can go in guns blazing or do stealth knockouts. Heck, you can even use a spider bot to sneak through the area. That's up to you. Strange enough, the missions feel just lackluster. Many of them drag out the link through long dialogue sections and load screens. The world is rather large and honestly feels pretty alive, mostly. There's traffic and there's people walking around on the streets. And at certain times of the day, it feels really solid, especially in your night scenes where you have this fog kind of go over the town, and it does feel rather alive with the neon colors. One area that I feel needs some work is the law enforcement parts. I hardly feel like I'm ever in any danger. The military group is on the streets constantly, but I've been able to knock out them, rescue the civilian, and walk off before anybody even catches up with me. Let alone a couple times that they gave chase, it didn't last but a few moments. And the few times I've been knocked out, it's because I got careless and tried to fist fight too many guys at once. Driving is very floaty, and it's been a few years since I played Watch Dogs 2. I don't quite remember the driving being like this. I could be totally wrong. Either way, cars can weave back and forth so quickly it doesn't feel great. It's not horrible, it's just not great. I also feel like there's no way to disable pursuers during chases. Previous games had several different obstacles, and here I think there's maybe 2, maybe 3. So far I have experienced one game crash. During the option to pick your first character, the game locked up and I had to fully close out of the game to continue. Also had a very strange issue with a police officer entering their car and it getting stuck in the wall 10 feet up in the air. I also feel like the AI is pretty rough, constantly running into traffic or just not knowing how to react. Too many times I feel like I'm driving fast, but they're dodging into me, not away from the road. The world itself looks great, mostly. I feel like the game looks best while walking around in those dark night situations and you have some rain falling. The neon colors pop, along with the light's reflections look really solid. During the day, buildings still look good. However, I noticed a lot more pop-ins. This really happens a lot while driving with buildings and textures. Looking at the details on the buildings, the graffiti or flyers, all add to great looking experience when you're on the ground walking. But one little nitpick I have, why can't we go into the shops? I loved going into these little shops and buying new clothes in Watch Dogs 2, or going into the gun shop in Watch Dogs, the first one. That's all taken out now. I stand outside and buy new clothes. I just feel like that's kind of lazy. Voice acting is a mixed bag of cats. Dialogue and cutscenes is fairly solid. However, during recruitment or missions, the lines fell flat.
I'll put the server in your whip. You're good to go now. Watch the road, all right? Don't get blown up.
Good looking out. Bags has got us doing some pretty wild shit.
I've already started noticing repeat lines from NPCs during recruiting. Being only 5 hours into it and recruiting less than 5 people, I feel like it shouldn't be the case. Bagley, your AI partner, is spot on amazing. I love his humor, his dialogue, and his input. He really adds some personality and comic relief to the game, to be just flat out honest about him. Sound design when it comes to the world, shooting, and ambient sounds is pretty on par. Also, the soundtrack is great. Any game that includes Fatboy Slim gets 10 Fat Boys out of 12 Slims in my book. Now just add Chumbawamba in here, I get knocked down and you've won me over, 10 out of 10. To wrap things up, I honestly think my opening was the best description here. If you liked Watch Dogs 1 and 2, more 2 than 1 to be a little honest there, I think you'll mostly like Legion. But similar to the other 2 games, I don't think the team has a direct idea what they wanted Watch Dogs to be. I love the idea of recruiting anyone on the street. However, the downside is there is no main character to bond with, to get to know. And I do miss that. While some people want to criticize Aiden Pierce and Marcus, I thought they were still good characters. Missions can be fun and tense at times, and other times feel like they're just padding to draw out your time. Also, sometimes dialogue sounds really good, other times feels cringy and misplaced. I'm enjoying the game mostly, and I think it could be worth the price with some polish. And if you're a fan of the franchise, maybe. I would still even almost wait for a sale. If this is your first Watch Dogs game, I definitely 100% say wait for a sale on this title. Sadly, I don't see Watch Dogs Legion winning any awards, except for the first to go to $30 bin on Black Friday. So that wraps up my first impressions for Watch Dogs Legion on the Xbox One X. If you'd like to see some gameplay footage, click the link to your left. That'll take you to a running playlist of some content I'm doing for it. And if you like what you see and you want to see some more, click the link to your right. That'll take you to the channel itself where I have tons of videos going on over there. Until next time, you guys, stay frosty.